iRenew Expo, renewable energy in the city, and this is a very exciting case that they have really moved the ball forward for everybody who's a renewable energy supporter, and it's a pleasure to have people of this quality who will come and do what they do to help us. I'm awed. But let's give them a hand.
Thanks. Good to see you. Let me talk for a little bit of while. Barry's going to talk for a while, and then let's talk together about how to get things done. All righty. Ooh, we're getting podium mic on. Okay, now you can really hear me. All right. Rob Hogue asked me to talk about how climate change solutions and clean energy solutions can work well for both the economy and the environment. And let's talk a little bit about how that works in Iowa, how it works around the Midwest, and how you develop strategies that are win-win-win, okay? For Iowa, let's go back in time a little bit. Everybody in this room knows that Iowa is number 1 or number 2 in the country in terms of wind power development. Number 1 per capita, number 2 in actual wind power installed. You know, good debate with Texas on who counts how, okay? Go back in time, just about 10 years. This is what's happened on wind power in the Midwest. In 2000, there was a little bit less than 500 megawatts of wind power installed. Iowa was a leader. Iowa had the first renewable energy standard in the region. How many people know what that renewable energy standard had in it? How much? 2%. Tom Wind? You're a shill?
It was 250 megawatts of installed capacity, or 2% of the energy use.
Okay. Today, in the region, 18,000 megawatts of wind power installed as of the end of 2012. And with MidAmerica saying they're going to install another 1,050 and a number of other projects that are going up, that number goes off the charts. So when everybody sits here and says, this is really hard, it sure is. But look at what has happened. In a decade, we've gone in Iowa and the Midwest from about 500 megawatts of installed wind power, a little bit less in 2000, to a decade later, 18,000 megawatts. And if we do this chart in 2015 or 2020, you won't even be able to see where it goes to the upper right. That's progress. That's reality. That's a climate change solution. That's creating jobs. It's creating economic growth. And it's still going. So when anybody says, too hard, too difficult, this can't be done, you're living in fantasy land. Give me a break. Give me a call. We'll send you this chart. 10 years, 500 to 18,000, and that's still going up, way up. That shows us what we can get done. Here's why we need to do it. I won't expect anybody to read the little print from the cheap seats in the back row. That's sort of how I did law school, tax class at 8 in the morning, back where Bob Vogel is. All right, so everybody can see the colors and can see what the graph does, okay? Start here, 2010, 2020, what we want to get done over 10 years. I'm going to talk about where we need to go, but also where we've come. The red is nuclear. The yellow is natural gas. The green is renewables, wind power and solar. Black is coal. The purple is energy efficiency. What you'll see at the top of the chart is that demand in the region is actually going down. The best, the cheapest, fastest way for us to solve our climate change problems in ways that create jobs, keep dollars in Iowa's economy, while reducing pollution, is energy efficiency. Okay. So why in the heck is that going down? Because I thought we all knew that you can't have economic growth without electricity use going up. Well, that's not what's happening. Let's talk a little bit about policy and technological innovation. My wife and I went and bought a new refrigerator for our house because we have 3 very large teenage sons. They're all 6'4". And our old refrigerator, let's say, wasn't big enough for the use of 3 teenage boys who are 6'4". They eat a lot. And the old refrigerator was sort of getting crappy and so on and so forth. The new refrigerator we bought is about 35%, 40% more efficient than the one we had beforehand. But it wasn't like Lauren and Howard in Viros went and bought the most efficient refrigerator that was at Best Buy. Practically every one that was being sold at Best Buy was in the 30 to 40% more efficient range. That's because of both technological innovation and the federal appliance efficiency standards. Refrigerators run 24/7. I don't know anybody who says, well, I'm going to save some electricity at night and unplug my refrigerator. 24/7. As people replace refrigerators over time, whether it's every 8 years or 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, they are cycling in refrigerators that are a lot more efficient. The same with air conditioners. Laptop computers, 5, 8 years ago, got you about an hour and a half of use on a charge, maybe 2 hours. Now they're getting you 5 or 6 hours on a charge. TV screens, much more energy efficient. Dishwashers, clothes dryers. Every appliance you're using, a lot of them have the Energy Star rating, all of them are more energy efficient. Take a look at lighting for a minute. I bet everybody in this room has a bunch of CFLs in their homes and their businesses. And Philips and GE and others tell us, come 2015, 2016, LEDs are going to swamp the market. LEDs are about 90–95% more efficient than incandescent bulbs. A little bit of quick math. Residential customers use 40 to 50% of the electricity that's supplied. 20 to 25% of typical residential electricity load is lighting. Number 1 is air conditioning and cooling, number 2 is refrigeration, number 3 is lighting. So if you multiply 20 to 25% times 40 to 50%, you get somewhere between 8 and 10% of overall electricity demand is residential lighting. Okay? Forget the lights in this building, that's commercial. Forget industrial, forget schools, forget hospitals, forget office buildings. Just residential lighting, 8 to 10%. All right, what happens as we're going to 2020? When LEDs begin to swamp the market and people in their homes install LEDs when their incandescent or CFLs burn out, what people wind up getting is lighting and illumination is what they want. They save money on their electricity bills. That keeps money in the local economy for people to spend on the main streets of their towns. And pollution goes down by something like 90%. Demand goes down by 90%. All right? That's why, as you look forward, we're seeing a reduction in demand through energy efficiency in the Midwest. I didn't even get to commercial lighting, industrial pumps and motors, and the 90% reduction in pollution, if we're supplying more and more with solar and wind, becomes even less reduction in pollution, but that's a good thing. 90% demand reduction from lighting, which is 8 to 10% of the overall demand, means we're taking out about 7% of the overall demand through just one technological improvement, the switch to residential LED lighting. Commercial lighting, industrial pumps and motors, commercial refrigeration, lots of other stuff. But that one is about 7% of reduction. That leads to demand going down. And it leads to demand going down in ways that not only reduce pollution, but give people the electric services they want, keeps money in the economy, and creates jobs. That's a climate change solution that works well for both the environment and for the economy. So let's look at some of the other stuff on here for a minute. Because if your demand goes down, then there's less room in the market for the supply. Coal, renewables, natural gas, and nuclear. We just saw two absolutely fascinating headlines within a month in Iowa. Front page of the DMR. One headline, beginning of May, MidAmerica Energy invests $1.9 billion to build 1,050 megawatts of new wind for Iowa. Less than a month later, anybody know the other headline?
They scrapped their nuclear plant.
MidAmerica pulls the plug on its nuclear plant. Think about it for a minute. I sat down with a gentleman in Davenport, and I'll tell people without, where I'm not being taped, about 2 years ago, who insisted to me that what's all this wind power stuff? Nuclear is the wave of the future. That I was just sort of this green environmentalist. And I told him, you know, I hate to sound like Marketplace on NPR, but let's look at this by the numbers. Here's what MidAmerican Energy, Warren Buffett, you know, not Barry Shearer, not Liz Christensen, not Tom Wind, Josh Mandelbaum, Howard Lerner, Rob Hogue. MidAmerican Energy has decided by the numbers that it makes more sense to invest $1.9 billion of more than 1,000 megawatts of new wind power in Iowa than building a new nuclear plant. Does anybody need a market signal somewhere? This is the economics of the marketplace. So what we're having is a confluence of public policy, terrific environmental and clean energy advocacy that's being done by a lot of people. We're seeing public preferences playing into decision making. And what we're seeing is the old line, it's just the economy, stupid. As corporations and environmentalists and business people and civic leaders and utilities run the numbers, MidAmerican Energy has made a decision. It's more profitable from their perspective, or makes more sense, or for whatever reason, the board of directors made its decision. They decided within a month to announce more than 1,000 megawatts of wind power they're moving forward, and on a nuclear plant they're not. If you want an example of something where people are changing the world here in Iowa, that's one pretty big change. That's what we call a game change. All right. So that nuclear line at the bottom, that red, it actually goes down just a little bit. All righty? We're being conservative on this. We are not projecting that a lot of the nuclear plants shut down, which some of them might. We're saying nuclear remains relatively constant. Natural gas, as everybody knows, is growing. It grows. Renewables can, should, and must grow, and are growing. I'll talk about solar in a minute, but I'm leaving most of that to Barry, who runs Eagle Point Solar. What does that do to coal? Everybody heard Rob Hogue this morning? Got to do something about the coal plants to solve our climate change problems. We don't have any choice. It's getting bad. We need to do something about it. If there is less demand And there's more supply coming in from wind power, from solar power, from natural gas. There's only so much room in Dodge. Coal gets squeezed out of the market. And that's what's been happening in the Midwest over the last couple of years. When we did this chart in 2010, people thought we were a little bit out there. I sort of prefer the term visionary. This is happening in the good old RW real world. Coal plants, as you know, are shutting down around the region. They're getting hammered in the marketplace by natural gas, by wind, by efficiency that's creating less room in the market. They're going to begin losing out to solar for two particular ways. The price of solar is dropping, and I'll have one modest disagreement with Tim Dwight from this morning, because Tim said 15 years to get to 15, 20 cents a watt for a panel. I'll go to about 6 or 7, Tim. I mean, it's already now down to what, about 40, 45 cents? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, panels were about $1.75, $2 a watt, right? Now they're around 40 to 50 cents. Well, let's put it this way. Nobody's going to accuse Tim of being unambitious. I think on this one, it's going to be sooner than even Tim thinks. As solar technology gets better, both in terms of the efficiency of panels, which Tim said correctly, are increasing about 1.5% each year. You know, just think about everything else we know. Solar panels are electrical equipment. Hey, I had a 5 megapixel digital camera. Ooh. You know, my kids laugh at it. They finally, you know, and I got a new one, it's 14 megapixel. You know, that's like 3 years later. Everything we deal with on electronics, you know, the gizmos and gadgets we all have in our pockets that are better, faster. We're 2Gs now, 4Gs, you know, and keep getting faster. Somebody's going to have a 5G pretty soon. Laptop computers that are faster and so forth. This is electronics equipment. And SunPower is now putting out panels that are about 21% in terms of efficiency. It's just going to keep getting more efficient. The economics are going to keep getting better. We're going to get some of the policies right and end the sort of nonsense that Barry Shear and Eagle Point have been going through with the Iowa Utilities Board at the utilities urging, saying that third-party financing for solar projects makes one into a public utility. Barry and Eagle Point are before the Iowa Supreme Court right now. We won below. Josh Mandelbaum and my colleague Brad Klein are writing a brief for a number of the solar companies in support of Eagle Point's position. Let's win that one. Let's get the policies right as the technology gets better, as the economics make solar more competitive. And with coal, that puts more and more of a squeeze on coal, thereby, Rob Hogue, reducing carbon pollution that creates climate change problems. And as we're solving the environmental problems, Tim Dwight's slide, you know, about the jobs from the different sectors, the one with coal, gas, nuclear, solar, that's about jobs and keeping money in the economy. How much coal does Iowa produce? 0. How much sunlight is available in Iowa? A lot. That's the insularity slides that Tim was using. So when we're not paying money for coal-generated power that involves paying for the coal that's coming mostly from Wyoming, that's keeping dollars in Iowa's economy to be respent, bolstering the economy, creating jobs, while we're reducing pollution and helping to solve climate change problems. That is a climate change solution that works for both the economy and for the environment. One last point about solar, and I promise not to steal Barry's thunder. Solar is available, as everybody knows, when the power is needed most. 3 o'clock on the afternoon, peak power time on a Thursday, you know, power market prices are highest then. So if you're running a coal plant, those 300 hours of peak power times on the hot summer afternoons, that's your gravy. So if solar starts taking away sales and flattening out prices at peak power times, that's the equivalent of telling Macy's, you can be open 11 months out of the year, but you have to shut down between Thanksgiving and Christmas, okay? The impact on a coal plant owner's financials of losing those really pricey power sales at peak time has a disproportionate impact on the overall profitability of continuing to run a plant or retire it. Solar is a really disruptive energy supply when it comes to what's in there as black as coal. Wind runs mostly at night, about 2 to 1 at night versus during the day. Solar runs when the power is needed most. Last point on solar, and it again picks up one of the slides from this morning. Battery storage is a big deal. The technological improvements that are being worked at for battery storage, both on electric vehicles, for cars, and for electricity storage on the power sector, are huge. A lot of money's going into it. Some of the best R&D minds are focusing on it. Government is spending a lot of money at places like Argonne National Labs, and private businesses like GE are spending a lot of money on batteries. To the extent that you can get battery storage that's much better for commercial buildings and for people in their homes, that means that solar generated power during the day can be used at night. And that is a huge game changer. Solar plus batteries is a completely disruptive technology to central power generation from coal or natural gas or nuclear. Solar works on its own. Solar plus advanced battery technology absolutely rocks. That's not a next 2 years, but keep an eye on battery technology and the interplay with solar going into the latter part of this decade. All right. I'm an optimist. Okay, we put together a report on wind power development for Iowa a couple of years ago. Good for jobs, good for economic growth, good for the environment. 80 companies engaged, 2,000 plus jobs in Iowa related to the wind industry. We all know some of those companies have had tough times. Some of them are growing. We're going to update the report. And when someone says, well, some of the companies you mentioned aren't there anymore, they didn't do well. This is a competitive market. They're going to be business winners, they're going to be business losers. They're going to be solar winners, they're going to be solar losers. That's part of having a competitive electricity market. We want to see the wind and solar industries be profitable, and we're going to want to see that grow and keep growing. But if MidAmerica is building another 1,000 plus megawatts of wind power, that's going to be a lot of jobs for Iowa. We did a similar report in Illinois where we included solar, and we'll do that on the next Iowa report as well. I just want to show you one aspect of what it looks like when you want to take one of these reports that talks about jobs and put it in terms that matter for politicians and policymakers. This is the Illinois map. And what we did was we took all the companies in wind and solar and we mapped them out by legislative district. And then for places like Chicago or Champaign or Peoria or the Quad Cities, we really gave a separate little map. Because if you're the state senator from the Quad Cities, do you care about Rockford? Nope. You want to know what's in your neighborhood. If you're in Rockford, you really don't care about Chicago. So we've taken this and we've really broken out the supply chain businesses, and we're going to be doing this again for Iowa by mapping it out in the legislative districts and showing legislators how many businesses there are in their districts. This has been one of the most effective things we've done. It's been powerful, and every legislator who opens it up, they open it up, nice report, they go to the map, they look at their district, and then we have a list of everything that's in their district, who the companies are. We need to explain to politicians and policymakers not just big numbers about jobs and big numbers about economic growth. We need to show people what it means for jobs and economic growth and environmental projects in the places that they care about most, namely their district from where they're getting elected. Getting elected. All right.
Both and.
Both and. This is really a both and. Start off by saying the old saw about you could either have jobs or the environment. Let's get rid of that. That's a dichotomy that never really existed. It's false. It's a myth. We can have job creation, economic growth, and environmental progress together. We've got to do that for climate change solutions that work well for both, the both and, the environment and the economy. And anyone who says you can't do it, that those are somehow irreconcilably in conflict, just needs to look at, a slide that's something like this. Remember, wind power wasn't going to be feasible. How many jobs has that meant for Iowa? How much economic growth has it meant for Iowa? How much CO2 taken out of the atmosphere has it led to? And look what happened in the last election cycle. Governor Romney said, I oppose the production tax credit for wind power. President Obama said he supports it. Everybody remember what Chuck Grassley said the day after Romney said what he said?
Stupid.
Stupid wasn't the term, but close.
Gotta go talk to him.
Governor Branstad said, we disagree with him. We need to go talk to him. That noted progressive environmental Democrat, Chuck Grassley, said that Governor Romney's opposition to the production tax credit for wind power was, quote, like a knife in my back. Another progressive environmentalist, Congressman King, said that Governor Romney was wrong. Congressman Latham said he disagreed with Governor Romney. Politically, this is working for us now. What we need to do is remove some of the barriers the utilities are creating, and Barry will talk about that one. I'm not going to steal his thunder. We need to be aligning the economics with the policy, with technological innovation, and we need to tell everybody, because we can demonstrate the facts on the ground, that there are climate change solutions that work well, both and, for both the economy and the environment, and then we need to work hard and get it done. And we look forward to working with all of you at iRenew to make that happen. Thank you very much.